Hey y'all, welcome to another Markland Mondays. Today's gonna be a brown liquor kind of day. Let me take a little sip of this bourbon. Yeah, okay. Gonna need that because this is gonna be a pretty interesting topic that we have tonight. A really good conversation, I think, that I really wanted to have. This was brought up, or this came to mind, not just from a conversation. Usually I'm always talking to somebody, always digging all in their personal business. If you know me, you know I will have a good in-depth conversation because, like we were talking about last week, y'all, I love love. And what that means to me is getting past the surface things as far as why we do what we do, but understanding why we do. Hey, Michelle, thank you for joining me. I knew that my number one supporter would be the number one person watching, and I appreciate that. Thank you. But I was just looking back at Derek Jackson, and people were just going in on him. And one of the things that he always speaks about is men being men when in relationships. So I started looking into that, looking at how we interact with each other, men and women. Now, don't get me wrong, I fully understand that, there are different types of relationships. You have women, just all of those dynamics. But what I'm speaking on in this particular case is just men and women and how we interact with each other when we first start dating, when the relationship moves beyond that, and how things move. What's happening, Derica? Thank you for joining me tonight. Tonight's conversation, y'all, is going to be about chivalry. So please make sure that you leave those comments. If you leave comments throughout the conversation, make sure that you hit those reaction buttons, whether you love what I'm saying. If you don't like it, frown at me, whatever the case may be. Just let me know how you feel. So let's dig on into it tonight. One of the things, as I was preparing for tonight's show, one of the things I really saw was a lot of men, and I'm not trying to dig into my dudes, but I'm gonna hold us accountable. There are a lot of comments from men when it comes to the whole topic of chivalry. Okay, I mean it's kind of crazy how the reactions that I got as far as looking at the different memes, looking at the different images that are out there regarding chivalry. Now, first things first, let's go ahead and define the term. All right. The dictionary defines it as any combination of qualities expected in a knight. That's if we're going into the historical sense of the word. But it speaks about courage, honor, courtesy, justice, and a readiness to help the weak. Now, one of just to dig into that, feminism, and I'm going to touch on that in a little bit. Like I said, this is going to be a tough topic. So once again, we got the brown liquor for this one. But one of the things that, feminism, and understandably so in a lot of respects, but feminism, where we're talking about independent women. So when you start digging into why, because in order to be, for a man to be chivalrous, that means that a woman has to be giving. So we have to keep that in mind as well. But one of the things that I came across, one of the themes that I saw was guys are tired of ungrateful women, and that's what's causing chivalry to die. And yeah, Michelle, quite honestly, you hear women, one of the as far as women, they're referred to as the fairer sex, the weaker sex. And in a lot of respects, that's true. Not necessarily weaker as in mentally or spiritually, but physically. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some women out there that'll, they can hold their own, but at the end of the day, just in a context as far as, just not weak as in, like I said, mentally. So, but we'll dig into that. I like that point. I like that. We're gonna, in fact, let me put a pin in that right there. So we're gonna define, dig into the weak aspect of it. Another thing that I came across is that a lot of people have mislabeled chivalry as thirst, and that's something that we've seen a hell of a lot as far as recently, as far as women labeling dudes as thirsty, and kind of sort of vice versa, but definitely a lot of women labeling men as thirsty because they're doing things to reach out to them. Remember a couple weeks ago we had one of our conversations was as far as shooting your shot, that kind of thing. So that right there has really framed the subject of chivalry, because it's gotten to such a negative thing in today's society. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to just have this conversation. Now, for me, y'all may have seen this movie way back in the days called The Bronx Tale. If you've seen it, let me know. It came out way back in 1993, and shoot, that's the year. Ooh, I went in the army that year. But anyway, in 1993, that movie came out, and I'll be honest with you, it shaped my worldview when it came to relationships with dealing with women. Man, dudes ain't thirsty. And you're worth. You just dudes are trying to get at you, Michelle. Anyway, she distracted me, y'all. Anyway, The Bronx Tale. With that movie, you know, one of the characters, he saw a girl that he liked, and he just didn't know how to pursue her. So he went and got with an OG who basically said, hey man, you know, these are the things that you want to do. You want to hold her door open. And one of the things that he said though was like, yo, you open her door. Now remember, this is back in the 90s when the movie came out, but it was kind of set, I want to say like in the 50s or 60s. But anyway, what the OG said to him was like, hey, you open her door, and if she gets in and doesn't reach across and open your door, get the hell away from her, because she's, you know, she's just a selfish broad, as he put it. But what that says is, hey, you as the man be chivalrous, but if the woman doesn't reciprocate and show some kind of action on her part towards you, then that's a red flag, you know, for him to be aware of. So that movie, I'll be honest with you, way back in 1993, kind of set how I operate, you know, as far as, okay, what I do, but also to be on the lookout for not a quid pro quo situation. All right. Because that's something else I want to talk about, because guess what? A gentleman does not do things in order to get something in return. That's not a gentleman. That's a quote unquote nice guy. And we're going to talk about that one. You know, that's going to be a topic that we're going to dig into. And by nice guy, I'm not saying that a dude that just does what's right because it's the right thing to do. I'm talking about a dude that does the quote unquote right thing in return for something else. In other words, you know, I'm a good guy, so therefore I deserve the twat. No, we're going to talk about the nice guys, because that is just some nefarious behavior. What I'm speaking about are true gentlemen in the classic sense of the word. I'm talking about men who do the things that they're supposed to do, because guess what? For me, chivalry is a man, a gentleman who takes care of his woman. He takes care of his house. He takes care of his duties both inside and out of the home. Meaning inside the home, he takes care of things like he pays the bills, or he supports the home, and he's always fixing shit, whatever the case may be. He makes sure that his home is taken care of. Not necessarily the physical structure that is the house. No, I'm speaking more along the lines of the home. In other words, his woman that's in the home, making sure that she is taken care of and that the home is running properly. So that's what I'm referring to when it comes to that. But also, a chivalrous man, in my opinion, takes care outside the home, and that's more of the doing things for her, meaning holding her door open, you know, showing respect, just that kind of thing on the outside. And it's an entire thing. And like I said, this type of man, you know, who I am, and I'm proud to say that I'm that kind of dude. You know, he does those things for his lady, for his relationship, for his home. All right. But women, I'm gonna touch on y'all too. Y'all got to allow that kind of stuff to happen. You know, I know that you know, in the Me Too era and, you know, all of that, it's a little different, and don't get me wrong, I know that a lot of dudes have done some shady shit. I get it. I fully understand, and I support, you know, that movement. However, you know, we were watching a comedy special, Bill Burr, I think was his name, and he was just talking about that. It's like, basically, it's like, yo, you know, if you look the wrong way, you know, you can be subject to certain things. And I know it's a fine line, and I cannot even imagine what it's like to be a woman in that situation. I know that, you know, I've spoken to so many women about the fact that, hey, a man feels like he is owed because he says smile or whatever. Just the fear that can enter a woman's whole aura because she fears the anger of a man because she doesn't respond the right way. I know that is such a tricky position to be in, and in no way, shape, manner, or form can I even imagine just going through that. All that being said, though, if you're on a date, for instance, let's put it in a more intimate situation. This isn't just some random dude on the street. You're in a date, on a date, and the man holds the door open, whether it's your car door, whether it's the door to the restaurant, he holds your seat out. There has to be a little give and take, I believe. Now, Michelle just, and this kind of ties into the question that Michelle is asking as far as, how that relates to a patriarchal society. One of the things that I saw as I was, doing my research for this particular topic was, this subject, I should say, was that feminism has basically said that in order for a man to be chivalrous, he's basically putting the woman in a position where she has to basically be his subservient to him, be his child, because what he's doing is serving her. It's a crazy dynamic, and I understand that. That's why this is such a difficult a subject that's more difficult than it should be, because quite honestly, I think that a lot of the issues that we have in relationships, but on a small scale and a grander scale, are because we've kind of gotten away from certain foundations. Now, once again, and this goes back to what we were talking about as far as wheat goes, I think that, there's certain rules, there's certain foundations, there's certain things that tie into the male-female dynamic when it pertains to relationships. I think that a man should be a man and a woman should be a woman. Now, I'm not saying that a man is supposed to be dominant and all this other bullshit. That's by no means what I'm saying. And also, I'm not saying that a woman just to be like, oh, dad. No, none of that BS. All right. I personally love a strong woman. I love a confident woman, and I've also learned in my relationship that when I do what I'm supposed to do as a man, it allows her to do what she's supposed to do as a woman. Now, that's got nothing to do with, she earns more money than me and she has a better car than me. And, no, that right there would be my insecurities being projected onto her, because I'm allowing external things, and literally things such as money, such as, status symbols, to dictate how our relationship goes. And once again, if you allow something external to infiltrate your relationship, then Lord knows it's going to implode, and quite honestly, it's destined to fail. What I'm speaking about when I say as far as the male-female dynamic and who does what I'm saying is that, hey, if a man is doing what he's supposed to do, going back to what I said, taking care of the home inside and out, and he is holding up his end of the bargain, then guess what? A woman, it's always going to be 50-50. It's well, not even 50-50. It's always going to be even. On one hand, she may give and he has to take a little bit, and on the other hand, he has to take and she has to give, and it's always a balance to where everyone is equal. But if you aren't holding up your end of the scale, if you will, then guess what? The power dynamic is always going to be shifted in one side, and then after a while, and I'm speaking from personal history where this has happened to me, where everything was out of whack, and what that led to was resentment. So what I'm saying with when it comes to this topic of chivalry is like, hey, you have to, one, as a man, do the right thing, and as a woman, allow that to happen. But it's not gender based, because chivalry is a give and take type situation. And so you can, chivalrous behavior, going back to the definition, chivalrous behavior is courage, it's honor, it's courtesy. Think about it. A kind word to your dude is chivalrous behavior. And to my Game of Thrones fans out there, y'all remember when what's her name, when she was knighted? Well, if that's the case, if chivalrous behavior comes from being a knight, just going all off on a crazy little tangent, but if being a knight, there's certain tenets to being a knight, and guess what, she was knighted, then it doesn't have to, it's not about her gender, it's about how you carry yourself. And I think that our society, like I was saying, our society says, if you act a certain, if a man pursues a woman, then he's being thirsty. And if a woman, a woman has to be savage and all this other shit, it throws everything out of whack. All right. So it's not about, okay, I'm a man, so no, it's none of that. It's a matter of I am carrying myself in a certain way. I am a gentleman, and then obviously the opposite of that is you are a lady. You know what I'm saying? That's why, I don't use the word she's a female, because it's a whole lot of females out there, and quite honestly, I don't do bad bitches. I don't do none of that shit, and I damn sure I'm not an N-word. Once you start moving away from that, then you're no longer a gentleman, and you're damn sure not acting in a chivalrous manner, and that goes for women and men. All right. So in fact, one of the things we always do our little chat sessions before we start the conversation. Cycloria, she spoke about dudes being called thirsty because they're pursuing a woman, and I've said this so many times, I'm gonna say it again. Us dudes, we ain't that bright. Okay, we're not that bright. Men are mission driven for the most part, and quite honestly, everything that we're doing is really and truly we're just trying to get the twat. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It is what it is. As sad as it is, that's what it is. So women, if you allow a man to not do certain things for you, then guess what? He's not going to do it. And then once you try and change it after the fact, that's when all hell comes in. So if you are starting off and you demand certain behaviors, most men, and you notice I use the word men because some boys won't, but most men are going to step up to the plate and they're definitely going to give you what you deserve and what you're demanding. I had that conversation on my Instagram page at author Christopher Markland, if you're not following me on Instagram, but we spoke about that. One of the ladies in the comment section, she was like, hey, I demand certain things. I posted an image about a man and a woman walking on a sidewalk, and in the image the woman was walking on the outside and the man was on the inside. Now this is one of those things kind of similar to holding the door open for her. A gentleman knows he walks on the outside. All right, it's just one of those things in society that's kind of died off. But if you don't know better, you won't do better. And also on the flip side, if you allow it, it's gonna happen. But if you stop and either hold him accountable, or if he already knows he does, then guess what? Things are gonna balance out, and it's gonna be on point. Now, Michelle just posted in the comment section, and like I said, y'all, please make sure you leave those comments. I definitely, love hearing what you guys have to say. And also, even after this live ends, I still always follow what's going on. And if you have a comment, if you come across it, please make sure you leave your comments and also hit those reaction buttons, so that way I know exactly how you feel. And like I said, this is a conversation. This isn't necessarily just a topic. All of these Markland Mondays, we may have a topic, but it's a conversation. Because guess what? I want to know what you guys think, and I want that impact, that conversation with you guys. Now, Michelle, she says that sometimes intentional or not, chivalry can come across as self-serving, and that's her opinion. You know what? Yeah, it probably is, because guess what? If you're doing something, because remember, one of the things that I've learned in life, I learned this in the Army, as far as when it comes to honorable behavior, is you're doing something whether somebody sees you or not. So if you are taught, for me as a man, I was taught by my mom, by my sisters, by just all the women in my life, that hey, a man is supposed to hold the door open for the woman, then guess what? It is self-serving, because if I don't do it, it bothers me. Not because she says, hey, don't do that. It's bothering me because it's like, hey, you know what? That's what I'm supposed to do. Now, that's my internal barometer when it comes to being a man. And if I don't do that, then I feel like I'm falling short of being a man. All right. So yeah, it is self-serving in a way, because that's my honor code. That's how I carry myself. I'm not doing it to get a reaction from her. I'm not doing it because other people are watching. I'm doing it because that's how I'm built, and that's what I'm going to do. So in a way, it is self-serving. Now, the benefit is, I believe that you're engendering good, it's just a good feeling on both parties. Like I said, I'm not doing it for her, but at the end of the day, I believe that it's a good feeling for her. if that makes any sense. Just let me know what y'all think about it. But yeah, I definitely think it is self-serving. So like I said, this conversation, definitely I believe is one that we had to have, and who knows, later on we may revisit it a little bit. But I really wanted just to talk about this one for a little bit, just to speak about chivalry, because as we move on in different conversations that we're gonna have, as far as dating, as far as we're gonna just all of the things that involve dating, relationships, marriages, love in general, all of those things, we're going to have that. But I really think that the roles that we play in these relationships play a huge part in how the relationship progresses, how it grows, and how things go from there. So like I said, leave those comments, hit me up in the comment section, let me know what you think. Also, I'm an author. You see my publishing company right behind me, Determined Books. You can like that page on Facebook. Also, I've got those 2 books, so please support me. Desperately Seeking Exclusivity and Desperately Seeking Pleasure. And I'm still working on book number 3, Desperately Seeking Clarity. It's going to be coming out soon. But once again, y'all, thank you for another Markland Monday. I look forward to seeing y'all next week. Not sure what the topic's going to be, but it's going to be a good one. And once again, thanks for the conversation. Y'all have a great week. See y'all next week.